Hi, Anna. It's a long time since we've seen each other. It's a pity that we can't visit you more often in Brussels, but it's really lovely to have you here on the screen. And we'll be talking about viral disinformation around the COVID pandemic. And could you maybe tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Well, it's a pleasure for me as well. It's really nice to see you again. Who am I? I'm Anna Zizola. I work in the European Parliament in the Directorate General for Communication, and I work in the spokesperson's unit. I'm specialized in countering disinformation, let's say. I'm an analyst, strategic analyst, and yes, my main focus is also possible reputational damaging narratives against our institution.
Super. And you're one of our most favorite EU related persons. You've been tracking COVID disinformation as well, if I'm correct, right?
Yes. Yes. Well, I guess it was impossible not to to come across this information about COVID during the major crisis, but I guess we are again in a major COVID-related crisis. Unfortunately, that had an effect on our institution as well, because people were going through a really, really difficult time, and the whole blame game started, and of course people were looking for answers, and sometimes the people who shared this information to attack the establishments decided to also target the European Union. So also disinformation concerning us, but of course we were very vigilant about any kind of disinformation that could be harmful for European citizens, of course. So we were constantly monitoring as analysts in my team. We were constantly monitoring this information. We had a lot of very useful inputs from our colleagues in the external actions. As you probably know, after the action plan against disinformation, it was decided as one of the core actions to create some task forces working on monitoring and analysis of this information within the external action. And we have some very, very valuable task forces monitoring this information coming especially from the East, so from Russia and China. And they passed us a lot of really, really useful information during the pandemic, during the major crisis, and they're still doing so. They have a website called EU versus Disinfo. I strongly suggest you, well, I'm sure Ruth, you know it very well, but anyone who's listening should absolutely have a look at it, because they are reporting in a very easily digestible way about the latest disinformation campaigns coming from mainly from Russia. So this very valuable inputs combined with our own analysis of maybe with a more internal view of what was happening in each member state. Of course, it's hard to monitor what happens in every member state, but we tried to keep track on how different disinformation narratives were spreading around, and when going from one member state to another, where they were more popular, and of course, how much they could be debunked, how much they could be relevant, and they could be really, really harmful. There was a lot of work to do, of course, a lot of evaluations, a lot of measurements. It's a very intense time, and it's as I said, it's coming back. So we're very busy doing this.
So you've definitely seen a difference between the start of the outbreak and then like the summer period, and then now again a new period?
Absolutely. Well, I guess, in March, basically, it was impossible to talk about anything else. I mean, the pandemic was all over the place. It was something extremely new, shocking, and of course, there was a lot of disinformation about it, covering like all possible aspects, but mainly, you know, the real existence of the pandemic. Some were saying it was just something that was made up to disrupt the economy, or, you know, all sorts of conspiracies behind it, or it was something that was orchestrated by the establishment to control people. There were a lot of assumptions about that, and then a lot of fake advice. I mean, advice were not reliable about how to cure it, like inject a disinfectant, or that's a famous one. But also, you know, drink a lot of vodka and you'll be fine. You catch the virus, and it was mainly focused on really like a prevention of the disease, or the existence or not of the disease. Now, for instance, then okay, during the summer, the world started focusing, like shifting the attention towards other issues as well. So the pandemic was not anymore something so central, but now we're going back to it being dominant upon other subjects. And I think now, from what I see, the focus is mainly on vaccines, because of course now we're in the phase in which we really want to have a vaccination. So there's this so-called rush to vaccines, and most of the allegations and disinformation inputs we see concern the alleged unsafety of vaccines, or you know, Europe not being honest about the agreements with the labs, or, you know, things like this, like a lot of conspiracies behind how they're made. And I saw one, for instance, it's not EU related. It's something I found a bit funny, but that the Mossad is stealing the formula for the vaccine from Russia, and that everybody wants to steal the formula from Russia.
Oh, because the Russian one is the best, of course.
Yeah, so we get a lot of disinformation from Russia, but it's not only Russia. There are all sorts of disinformation. Also, I wouldn't, you know, consider this as just a no-vax against pro-vax campaign, because of course, I mean, who am I to say if vaccines are really safe or not? We don't want to get into this, but of course, it is important to see the most important thing to do is to try and do a network analysis to see how the message propagates, so how it is shared among communities. It's not about seeing where exactly, like who exactly is sharing, that's not important, but to see how it really goes around, how it goes. First of all, there are tools that allow you to see how a message or a video, or could be whatever, a post, a photo, is being passed, is getting popular in a country, and then in another one, and how it goes around, and it's spread across countries, but also how it is spread across communities. You can really see how I don't know, if with some simple keywords search, you can see how a message is present in 1 or 2 or 3 communities, how big the communities are, how they are interconnected between them. Sometimes it's easy and quick to spot that a malicious message is just staying within a very small community. So it's spreading fast. Maybe you see a lot of retweets, but they're just within a close community of people who share the same opinion. It doesn't spread, it doesn't go out. I think it gets scarier when it leaves the community and really is able to go across different users.
And have you been able to grasp when that happens? Like what is it? Is it a specific message, or is there a context to the message that makes it spread beyond that initial group, or is it like the automation of spreading, like for instance using bots, that it creates a bigger? Have you seen any specifics on that?
Yes, I think there is not just one case scenario. I think there are different scenarios. Well, the classic strategies by using good hashtags. There are also other ways. I mean, of course, bots and trolls help a lot, and we've seen like clear cases in which bots and trolls were everywhere. They were spreading the message everywhere, even in unrelated discussions. Like I've seen discussions about one political subject, and I don't know, let's say, I give you an example, some separatists from a remote country managed to infiltrate in the message and spread messages within the comments of this other subject, and people started talking about it. And you're like, yes, but this was a post about something else. Doesn't matter. Yeah. They managed to get there, and then of course, you know, they caught the attention of other users. So there are really a lot of techniques. I think, yeah, this repeating the message a lot and posting it a lot, of course, it is something that easily makes it viral, but you need to also know where to send it out. So you need to, you know, target the good influencers, like the most famous profiles, maybe also using handles or hashtags, as I said. But yeah, there are different strategies.
And do you think that, for instance, in the Netherlands, we've had some celebrities also claiming that, for instance, vaccinations are not good, and that we should stay sane and be able to think for ourselves while actually following a disinformation narrative. Do you think that is because of an effect of disinformation that's been repeated so much that we have like the more normal groups now also clinging to those conspiracy theories, or is there another reason for that? I mean, basically, what I want to say is there still just as much disinformation going around, but are people more vulnerable now than they were a while ago because they've been sort of getting acquainted with the narratives?
Well, of course. I mean, I think, you know, in a crisis situation where, you know, we're forced to do things we never thought we would have to do. Like, you know, they're closing everything. We have to stay at home. We cannot see our friends. We cannot see our families. We're scared. We're unsure of course, disinformation can be somehow reassuring because people may, it's a psychological phenomenon. It's quite common. Sometimes you want to believe in things that may seem absurd, but if you believe in them, you feel better. So of course there is this, and then of course, I don't know, these famous people who share this information. If they share an opinion about a vaccine, I guess it's legitimate. They could think vaccines, good. Who are we to say they're wrong? Everybody is absolutely free to share their opinion. But if this opinion is based on something absurd, like now the new Russian narrative that a vaccine will turn you into a monkey, or that it will change your DNA, well, then of course that is something big. There is no scientific proof of this. So you're using your power as influencer based on a lie or on something that is not factual scientifically. So if you're a famous person, you do it with other intentions. It's not maybe because you really believe in that. Maybe you want to provoke. Maybe there's something else behind. It's hard to tell why these people are doing this, but the problem is that then if they have a lot of fans or followers, these people will be prone to believe in what they say. So.
But you sort of you weaken the divide between this parallel universe with disinformation and our normal universe. The local bookstore in our train stations. They are going to sell a magazine based on conspiracy theories because it's allowed, it's not prohibited, and it's probably going to bring them money. So they say, if somebody orders us not to do it because it's illegal, then we stop. But until that time, so you create a constant more normalization of disinformation, which is, in my opinion, dangerous in that sense, because you tend to trust your institutions. I mean, of course, that's a matter of debate as well for many people, if you should trust institutions or not. But for me personally, I trust institutions, and for me personally, it becomes more difficult to trust them if you see different institutions adhering to disinformation narratives.
Of course. I guess, freedom of speech is a very important value, and I think we have to preserve that. Of course, misleading information that could lead to something harmful is absolutely not acceptable. And I think one thing we need to work on, and you guys do a fantastic job on this, is really like media literacy. And like inform people. People need to understand that, the source, the author, the reliability of the source and the author are very important. So before you share something on your social media profile, it's always better to double check 1, 2, 3 times if the source is reliable, if what is said can be proved, that if it's scientifically proved. Sometimes, you see articles in which they say, there's top experts, top epidemiologists, and then I go and check who this is, and these people are very controversial, and you see really like scary profiles, and you're like, oh my God. A lot of people probably don't have the time to go and check. They just believe it. And then the thing goes viral and everybody thinks the experts say that. So of course, what from the European Parliament point of view, I think we're doing a lot together with the Commission and the EAS. We're very concerned about this information. That's why we have the action plan against disinformation. Now we have a new special committee on foreign interference. And we have a code of practice with the platforms. There is a lot of policy going on, but of course, it takes time, and of course, we need absolutely to preserve the principle of freedom of speech. That's very, very important. So I think, citizens have to do their part and be very vigilant about what they read and what they post.
What do you think would be the perfect ingredients for a viral message on COVID? Do you have an idea? Like, yeah, what like the topic and the timing and like something like, is there a sort of basic recipe for a message that has the potential to go viral?
Do you mean a positive or a disinformation one?
No, it's a negative one. Is there something? Can you see a pattern in the messages you've seen in the past month?
Well, I think I think emotions are the key. Like you really need to play on emotions. It's a bit like migration. I always compare COVID to migration because that's another subject that is exploited a lot. These are subjects that make people feel insecure. COVID is easy because people feel insecure about it. People are scared. People don't want to get sick. They don't want their parents to get sick. But they're also, so they're willing to believe anything that make them feel better. So you give solutions to COVID. If you say it doesn't exist, people feel better. Yeah. If you say there's a cure, whatever you say, like, if you say it's like a flu, it will make people feel better. So I think, you always play on emotions, and then it's like the vaccine, vaccines are a controversial topic and they've been exploited, of course, because it's well known that a lot of people have doubts. So they're playing with that.
The picture of babies and needles is enough to make people scared. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So
as long as we feel insecure, it's really easy for people to disrupt us. And if we could find a way to make people more secure and feel safe using other messages than disinformation, there will be a fantastic way to go about.
And also, having a strong counterpart. Sometimes people believe in disinformation because they don't have factual information. They don't have access to factual information. Maybe because it's too hard for them to understand, because it's too scientific, which is normal. Like I think about, I don't know, some subject I don't know. If I read about it in a scientific paper, I understand nothing. So it's absolutely normal. So more accessible information, more positive information, because, it's one of the, I mean, I studied journalism, so I remember one of the rules was, news is always more intriguing than good news. I mean, if papers had only good and positive news, nobody would read them. So it is hard to find a good way of spreading positive and factual information and keep people's attention high. So that's also a very important factor, I think.
I'm now thinking about, because people want to feel better about themselves, and like if you see someone else hurt, like that's what the yellow papers are all about. Like the celebrities also have flaws, and now I can feel better about myself. Maybe we should create a fake world where we can be better than everybody else in that world, and we can share disinformation on that fake world and then feel better about ourselves. But thank you very much, Anna, because I think this is very helpful. And you said some things that I think are really important, and you're doing an amazing job.
Thank you so much.
And I hope so much that we can meet up soon in Brussels, being vaccinated and all. And then
Yes. Well, let's try and stay safe. And yeah, I'm also looking forward to meeting like great partners like you in person. It's always a pleasure.